A stormtrooper who actually said nope, not today, and ran for his life. And somehow that explosive setup got tossed aside for scavenger mysteries and Palpatine family reunions. I mean, come on. The first time we meet him, he refuses to pull the trigger in a massacre. That is Star Wars gold. A stormtrooper with a conscience. The second he takes off that helmet, you know you're about to see something new. And then he grabs a lightsaber like it is just another Tuesday and actually fights Kylo Ren. That should have been his saga right there. Instead, they turned him into the comic relief guy who screams Rey's name more than a Taylor Swift fan at a concert. And the potential was insane. He could have led defectors from the First Order. He could have exposed their secrets and weaknesses. He could have been the key to understanding the human cost of this war. But nah, let's send him to a space casino to release alien horses and learn that war is bad. Thanks, movie. Nobody knew that before. John Boyega was ready for it too. The charisma was dripping off the screen. The guy made stormtrooper armor look cooler than it had in 40 years. He brought energy, humor, and intensity all at once. And the films rewarded him with unfinished sentences and half-baked subplots. It is like giving Michael Jordan the ball and telling him to stand in the corner while Scottie Pippen runs the offense. And the crazy part is the audience saw it. We felt it. We knew Finn was supposed to matter more. Fans have been talking about it ever since. The missed opportunity. The stolen arc. The what could have been. And the worst part is it was right there in the opening scenes, begging to be explored. In this video, we are going to break down exactly why Finn should have been the true main character of the sequels, how his arc could have reshaped Star Wars forever, and why Disney missed the chance to give us one of the greatest heroes the saga ever had. So buckle up because this one still stings, and it is time to talk about it. Finn enters the sequel trilogy like no one we had ever seen before. A stormtrooper who decides one day to stop following orders and take off the helmet. That single act of defiance in The Force Awakens immediately sets him apart from every other character in Star Wars. We'd seen Jedi turning on the Jedi Order. We'd seen smugglers choosing profit over people. But a faceless soldier suddenly questioning everything he was raised to believe. That was new. And right from the start, the questions pile up. How many other stormtroopers had doubts? What kind of training turned children into obedient weapons? Was Finn Force sensitive, or was his choice purely human courage? The mystery around his escape from Starkiller Base should have been the seed for an entire trilogy of discovery. Instead, the films quickly shoved him into the role of comic relief. Think about it. The man had lived his entire life in the First Order's machine of control. He could have become the key to understanding its weaknesses. He could have rallied defectors and shown us the inside collapse of their power. But we only got scattered glimpses of that inside plots that went nowhere. The opportunity was right there to give Finn an arc like a war movie protagonist. The soldier who breaks free and inspires others. Even the symbolism was strong. He sheds his armour in the desert of Jakku. He chooses a new name from the letters of his stormtrooper ID. He holds the Skywalker lightsaber for a moment that teases something bigger. It all felt like a setup for greatness. Yet none of those threads were tied together. The curiosity we had about who Finn could become just evaporated as the trilogy went on. By the time the credits rolled on the rise of Skywalker, we had more questions than answers. Who was Finn really meant to be? Was he just a sidekick in someone else's story? Or was he a hero whose full journey was stolen from him? The mystery remains unsolved. And that is exactly why Finn should have been the one leading the sequels from the start. The most frustrating thing about Finn's role in the sequels is how obvious his potential was. You did not need to dig deep or invent fan theories to see it. The material was all right there. In The Force Awakens, he holds a lightsaber against Kylo Ren and survives. That is not nothing. The movie practically screamed at us that Finn was destined for more. Yet instead of following through, the writers treated it like a one-time gag. It feels like every time Finn's story could have taken off. The films swerve to make him the punchline. Remember the fight with Captain Phasma in The Last Jedi? Built up across 2 movies only to end in a brief exchange where Finn finally gets one hit in, and that is it. No exploration of what it meant for him to face the commander who oversaw his indoctrination. Just another wasted beat. What makes Finn's wasted arc hurt so much is the emotional weight that was left on the table. Imagine what it would feel like to be ripped from your family as a child, to be raised in a system that never even gave you a name, to be told your only purpose was to obey and kill. That is not just a backstory, that is trauma. And yet the films barely touched it. In The Force Awakens, there is one brief moment when Finn refuses to fire on a village of innocents. The horror of that scene shows us his humanity breaking through. That should have been the emotional foundation of his character. A man haunted by what he almost became. Someone determined to fight for freedom because he knows what it feels like to be robbed of it. Instead, the sequels brushed past it in favour of lighter beats. Think about what Finn could have represented. The countless nameless stormtroopers who never got a choice. By showing one of them breaking free, Star Wars could have given a voice to all those faceless soldiers we saw cut down in battles. It could have been a story of empathy for the people forced into the machine of war. That is powerful and heartbreaking material. But it never got the screen time it deserved. Even his friendships suffer from that lack of depth. Finn and Rey had the makings of a bond that went beyond typical Star Wars dynamics. Not romance, but a shared journey of outsiders finding their place. Instead, their connection gets diluted by shifting focus and new characters crammed into the sequels. We never get the payoff of that emotional thread. The saddest part is knowing John Boyega poured everything into this role. His energy and charisma were undeniable. You could see flashes of what Finn was meant to be. But when the writing abandoned him, it left us mourning a story that could have been one of the most moving in the saga. And yet, even with all that wasted potential, look at what Finn still managed to represent. The very idea of a stormtrooper choosing freedom is groundbreaking. It flips the entire iconography of Star Wars on its head. These soldiers had always been faceless cannon fodder. Now suddenly one of them takes off the helmet and becomes a hero. That image alone is awe-inspiring. Think of that desert shot on Jakku. Finn, sweating and terrified, ripping off the helmet. It is one of the most humanizing moments in the entire sequel trilogy. Or later when he picks up Luke's lightsaber and charges into battle. He is completely untrained, yet he fights because he cannot stand by. That courage is breathtaking. Even if the films did not capitalize on it fully, those scenes leave a mark. And there are other flashes too. His banter with Han Solo that reminded us of the old trilogy energy. His loyalty to Rey that showed a different kind of strength than the usual Jedi swagger. His defiance against Phasma shouting that he was in charge now. These were moments that made audiences cheer. They just deserved to be more than isolated sparks. The best part of Finn's story is that it does not have to end where Disney left it. Star Wars is a franchise that thrives on second chances. We have seen characters from comics and animated series brought back decades later with richer arcs. Why not Finn? Imagine a Disney Plus series focused on him helping other stormtroopers defect and find their own freedom. That practically writes itself. There are so many unanswered questions that could fuel new stories. Who were his parents? How many others broke away from the First Order because of his actions? Could Finn have trained as a Jedi after all, blending the discipline of a warrior with the empathy of someone who lived on the other side? The possibilities are endless. John Boyega himself has said he would return if the material was right. That alone should give fans hope. Because when you think about it, Finn's arc is not finished. It is paused. And the Star Wars galaxy has plenty of room for redemption arcs, second acts, and new beginnings. We already saw hints of him stepping into leadership, rallying troops in Rise of Skywalker, leading charges against impossible odds. Expand that into a full narrative, and you have one of the most inspiring figures in the sequel era. A man who went from nameless trooper to symbol of rebellion. That is the kind of hero worth following. So, while the sequels may have let him down, hope is not lost. Finn's story can still be told in a way that resonates with audiences, and fans are more than ready to embrace it. At the end of the day, the tragedy of Finn's character is not that he was weak or uninteresting. It is that he was strong, layered, and unique. And yet the story never gave him the focus he deserved. He was built to be the heart of the sequels, but was relegated to the sidelines. That choice will always feel like one of the greatest missteps in Star Wars. Because imagine the resolution if things had gone differently. A trilogy led by Finn could have redefined what a Star Wars hero looks like. No chosen one. No secret royal bloodline. Just a man who decided not to obey and changed the galaxy because of it. That would have been revolutionary. Instead, we are left with fragments. Glimpses of the hero he could have been. The lightsaber duel, the defiance against Phasma, the leadership in the final battles. All reminders of a path the films refused to take. It is like watching a masterpiece hidden beneath unfinished brushstrokes. And yet maybe that is fitting in its own bittersweet way. Because Finn's story, even in its incomplete state, mirrors the truth of Star Wars itself. Heroes do not always get the recognition they deserve. Sacrifice is not always honoured the way it should be. But the impact still matters. The choice to fight still echoes. So Finn remains both a tragedy and a symbol. A hero who could have been the centrepiece of the sequels, and a reminder of what happens when studios ignore the story that is right in front of them. His arc is unfinished, but his legacy is undeniable. And that is why Finn should have been the main character all along.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.